Welcome, another edition of Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo with Allan Lengel, co-founder of Deadline Detroit by way of Washington Post and the Detroit News and the Eagle American. Vanessa is a little under the weather. Vanessa Moss, attorney Vanessa Moss.
Right.
So welcome. Let's get right to it.
All right.
News, outrage of the week.
Crazy. I mean, a crazy week. We had the Trump verdict. And, you know, it's so funny. I mean, first of all, Marco Rubio trashed and said, oh, the thing is a joke, which is just ridiculous and totally insensitive. And the funny thing is that Trump, you know, when you sue somebody, you're suing to hopefully not only prevent them from continuing the behavior, but, you know, hopefully the verdict is enough that's a disincentive for them to continue. During the debate, not the debate, the town hall meeting on CNN, Trump called her a whack job and just went on and trying to discredit her again. Well, she's got, you know, if you get convicted of one murder, doesn't mean like, hey, I got convicted of murder, I can go out and kill as many people as I want. The idea is, you know, and sadly, it's only $5 million, which is not a great disincentive for a guy like that who's going to probably dip into the donations.
Well, he's not going to pay.
He's going to pay.
He's not going to pay.
Well, he may not personally, but the money will transfer.
Remember, you see that commercial on TV about the insurance company. We're not going to pay.
Yeah,
that's Trump.
No, they'll pay. You know what?
But they're going to put liens on his property or something to get the money.
Look, yeah, whatever it takes. I mean, look, the court will order it. I mean, he owes the $5 million. It should have been more like $40 million, where it's something that actually hurt him instead of $5 million. But he's continuing that crazy behavior of his. Here, we got to actually play real quickly.
President Trump met a friendly audience in New Hampshire. He even drew laughs when he mocked the trial in which a jury found him liable for sexual abuse.
What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings him up, and within minutes you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay?
Trump also defended comments he made on the Access Hollywood tape, saying he could grope women.
I said it's been true for 1 million years, approximately 1 million years, perhaps a little bit longer than that.
So you stand by those comments?
Well, I don't want to lie.
You know, and I love that line, I don't want to lie. He lies throughout the whole town hall, and then that one moment where he probably should try to lie, he suddenly has a lightning bolt of honesty. And I thought it was kind of ironic at that point where he says, why would I lie?
Well, my outrage, I got a couple, but the real outrage is the shooter in Allen, Texas, who, when first reported, was neo-Nazi, white supremacy, you know, the militia, and then you find out he's Hispanic and he hates me. It's like, you can't make this shit up. The guy loved Hitler. Now, if Hitler was in power, Hitler would be probably
wipe him
out and stuff. But this is the new norm with some of these folks. You can look at the Proud Boys, and that's a real integrated group. They had black folks, they had Hispanics, they had Asians, all of them carrying Confederate flags, neo-Nazi flags. Man, diversity hit the hate groups. Man.
Right.
Now they unintegrated the hate groups. But the guy, you know, reading his social media posts, you would think he wasn't Hispanic. He didn't like being Hispanic.
Right.
That's an outrage. And the other outrage is the subway death of Jordan Neely. Man, this Daniel Penny 15 minutes, you choke a guy. Now, I'm a former Marine, and listen, at this stage, I couldn't choke a dog. But this guy just, and with two other people, that's ridiculous.
It's the same thing, the George Floyd thing, the cop has his knee at his neck. I mean, at some point, it's like,
why didn't anybody
pull
stop
him
it? All they did was
they helped. They helped so he could continue. I mean, at some point,
they took a video. Nobody
Right.
said stop, man. You got him down, especially when the guy just let loose.
Right. And I mean, at some point, you can be justified in maybe initially doing it, but then you have communication with the guy and say, okay, I'm going to let go of you now, after a short time.
I don't think he's going to be convicted. Probably be
jury. Yeah. I mean, look, there's going to be people who are going to say, hey, he was just,
Ain't no question. We're going to get a comment on that. Let's take a quick break.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
Homeownership opportunities are rising in the city of Detroit, and there's a house out there that's right for you and your family. You don't even have to worry about credit or getting a loan. You can win a house for as little as $1,000 and pay for the renovation cost as you go. It all starts at buildingdetroit.org and the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Our auction and Own It Now programs offer a variety of houses and neighborhoods all over the city of Detroit. These homes are in desperate need of repair and new ownership. You can begin by going to our interactive map and detailed property listings to find the right fit for you. It won't be easy, and renovation costs are not cheap, but our compliance team is there every step of the way. We will help you track your progress and connect you with local discounts to save you more money. We have already sold more than 15,000 homes in the city of Detroit, and our inventory is shrinking fast, so you don't want to miss out on this wonderful opportunity. Start your home buying journey today by visiting buildingdetroit.org.
We got in the studio and contributed to the show, Jim Nardoni from Trenton, former police chief. Subway choking incident. Is that murder?
It's probably more along the lines of manslaughter. I don't believe they tried to kill him. The issue is this kid's mother died 10 years ago. He was 20 years old. He was a young man, and he fell between the crack, not a small crack, a big crack.
Well, the people listen, and now people get criticized for not getting involved in these altercations, and then they get criticized when something goes wrong. Allan, is this a George Floyd situation?
Yeah, I mean, the George Floyd thing was just so outrageous that everyone stood around and his fellow cops stood around and didn't say, hey, enough already. I think in this instance, the other question besides him being excessive, in terms of the time that he held him, but where were the police? This is a subway system that has transit police and stuff like that. How is it possible that
15 minutes?
Yeah, how is it possible that police wouldn't have responded at that point? It's some early on. You've got a fight on the subway there. I think I think it's going to be interesting because there's a lot of people go on the subway and in some certain routes where people feel intimidated.
You ride the subway when you're in New York?
Yeah. I ride the subway and I feel safe, but it's like any other place. In DC, I rode it all the time, but some neighborhoods are a little bit tougher, and sometimes there's and sometimes they're mentally ill people. I'll tell you, on the Q line, it's free now. I see a lot more homeless people. I see mentally ill people. I see people talking to themselves.
You get intimidated.
Well, you know what? There've been guys talking to themselves and stuff. There's a lot more mentally ill people.
But now, Jim, the other two people that held down the guy, should they be charged too?
At some point, somebody has to take action. So I had some circumstances when I was a police officer where I thought somebody was kind of being a little too aggressive, and you go, hey, lay off a little bit, don't kick the guy or whatever the case is. And apparently nobody made the decision to say, hey, this guy, you're choking this guy out. He's going to die if you don't stop here. And one of the two guys maybe should have done it, or somebody else on the train. But it appears like the people
they were helping.
They were kind of fed up with this. I mean, it sounds like they'd been dealing with this Mr. Neely for some time. And
well, but was he a threat? Did he deserve to be executed?
Absolutely not.
No.
Nobody deserves to be executed.
It reminds me of Bernie Getz. Remember?
Yeah.
On the subway, he shot five, six teenagers or whatever, and he got off.
But Getz was looking for people.
But this guy, I think you're gonna have a hung jury on this one. I don't see people convicted.
So I disagree with that. I think probably he'll take a plea and they'll have some kind of an involuntary manslaughter.
Not the way his attorneys were talking about. But anyway,
I think it's a case. You know what? I think it's a case that a lot of attorneys would say, we're not going to plea on this because we can get an acquittal. I think, look, he's a former service guy, former Marine. That plays out to some people. And the fact is, people on the jury who, particularly from New York, who have ridden the subway, who say, yeah, we're tired.
That plays against them too, because they're going to say he's a trained killer, even though he might have been a admin clerk. You don't know you.
Right.
But anyway, I want to thank Jim Nardoni for commenting. We'll have to have you back on, Jim.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. All righty. Thanks. All right. So, do we want to do? What do we have? Steve? Do we have Steve Neavling? We got.
Yeah.
We have Steve Neavling. Do we see him here? Let me see if he's
From Metro Times.
Yeah, we got him here. I don't see a
Okay.
picture though. He doesn't have video. All right.
How you doing, Steve?
Wait, hold on. We got to bring him in. You want to bring him into the studio? Let's see if we can get a little.
Hey, there's
Hey,
no
Steve?
video of me, huh? Hey, guys.
No, we don't see you.
Do you have?
Yeah, I do have one. I'm not sure why it's not showing up.
Okay. You know what? Maybe you want to go out and come back in. We could try
Yeah,
that.
we can do that.
If that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
I'll
got
be right
Steve.
back, guys.
All right. Why don't we do that? Okay, we've got Steve Neavling, formerly of the Detroit Free Press. He was a City Hall reporter at the Detroit Free Press. Then he had his own Motor City Muckraker, which he was out, Steve,
Started a lot of
running
shit.
and gunning out on the streets there and really going after the city of Detroit. And now Steve is at the Metro Times. He's their investigative reporter, or one of their investigative reporters there. And so we're going to talk to him about some stories, and let's see if we can get him back in here. But so anyways, I think in the meantime, do we want to
Well, we can go
talk about Larry a little bit?
Yeah, we can
All
do
right.
that.
So Adolph's brother, Larry Mongo, who's owner of DeMongo's Cafe, DeMongo's Speakeasy on Griswold, had an interesting little incident. All right, we've got Steve back in the studio, and we still don't have video on him. Yeah, all right, let's just bring him back in. Hey, Steve, can you hear us?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I'm not sure why the video is not working. My apologies.
All right. Okay.
Well,
Go ahead. Maybe we can. I'll try to find a photo. Maybe we can.
okay.
people know who they
So Steve, what's the most important story in Detroit these days?
Well, there's quite a bit. I think one of the more interesting stories that I've been working on for years continues to be an issue, and that's environmental racism. And I think the clearest example of that right now is Stellantis, the Jeep Cherokee plant on the east side. They just got slapped with the 8th air quality violation for this pungent smell. And I'm not sure why the state continues to allow this to happen, but you have a predominantly Black neighborhood in Detroit that continues to be inundated with this awful smell that's been happening for 2 years.
What is the plant officials are saying about it?
They're saying that they're going to get around to fixing the problem. I mean, it's been 2 years, and residents are so fed up. They're just saying they want to leave. You know, this is a plant that got a bunch of tax subsidies, so taxpayers forked over money so that their neighborhood can be inundated with this smell. And this continues to happen all over the city. You know, there's still 48217 is the most polluted zip code in Detroit. So you have Southwest Detroit pollution there, and you have pollution really all over the city. And you continue to have a state that allows this to happen. And, you know, this wouldn't happen in any other place. And for example, the reason that Stellantis is able to have more air quality violations than it was previously allowed under the law was that they agreed if they reduced the pollution at their Warren plant, they could increase the pollution in the Detroit plant. And that's what happened. And that's what continues to happen.
Let me ask you also, you know, we've seen a lot about the Marathon Oil Company out there. And I don't know if you followed any of that with the environmental issues out that way, but it seems like in the very, you know, low income areas where people are disenfranchised and don't have the power, where these big corporations decide they can shit on these communities. Have you explored all the Marathon Oil Company, or are you just sort of?
Yeah, no, I actually wrote a story that was part of a series about environmental racism that was focused just on 48217, which is the zip code where Marathon is.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, you look at cancer rates are super high. Asthma rates are really high. I talked to people who would get skin rashes, people who would, when they walked to school, they had trouble breathing or they had headaches. You know, this is a problem where for people's convenience, we put up with this kind of environmental pollution. And, you know, again, this happens in predominantly Black neighborhoods all across the country. And you don't see this anywhere else. So the question always is, it doesn't matter if we have a Republican or Democrat as governor, the state's administration and the environmental regulators continue to let this happen.
Let me ask you, could these companies like, you know, Marathon and Chrysler or whatever, do they have the equipment? Is there equipment out there to make the air, to purify the air more, to make it safer for these people, or are they just horrible companies to have in your neighborhood?
You just answered your own question, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, there are mitigation efforts, but, you know, a lot of the residents I talked to said it's just clearly not enough. I mean, one part of the problem with the environmental laws in the state is when you want to open up a factory in Michigan, the state will say, okay, you have to have pollution levels below a certain level. But what they don't consider is the overall chemicals already in the air. So if you have a place like 48217 in Southwest Detroit that's already got high levels of chromium and all these other chemicals in the air that are toxic, you can open up a factory there as long as your pollution levels are below a certain level. But you're adding to an already overall dangerous toxic environment. That continues to happen no matter who's governor.
What is Duggan and them saying about all this? You know, you see the mayor all over the place and making big announcements. But what about the folks over in Southwest Detroit? And you had a so-called crusader over there, Rashida Tlaib, who fed those people over there a lot of bullshit about that she was a fighter for them. And yet, you know, you drive by that the new Gordie Howe Bridge being built, and you have to see, man, I don't know how people live over near that kind of stuff. But yet, it seemed like Southwest Detroit is like a science laboratory.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a dump? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly haven't heard the mayor say anything about this issue. I hear the mayor talk on so many issues. I hear him talk about, his desire to bring professional sports teams here, and to revitalize downtown. I have not heard any discussion about what's happening in Southwest Detroit. And what's happening in Southwest Detroit is a travesty. I mean, we just seem to put up with it. You know, the number of people who are killed from pollution every year is three times higher than gun deaths in Detroit. We always focus on the gun deaths and the violence. We don't ever focus on the violent deaths of people who live near these factories.
Why is the Metro Times the only publication writing about this? There's the Free Press, the news.
Well, the Free Press did something a long time ago on the marathon plan. I thought it was a good job by, try to remember the guy who, you probably know, Steve, who did it. So.
Yeah, they did have an environmental reporter. I can't remember his name. I don't know if he's even still there. There's been a lot of cuts there, but you honestly don't read about environmental problems. Because when I was writing about this 2 years ago for Metro Times, it was a series, and I thought, well, some of these other reporters are going to see that I'm working on this series, and they're going to start writing about it. They never did. I mean, there was. I mean, if you look at what happened in Flint, there was virtually no one writing about what was happening in Flint while people were drinking this poisonous, toxic water. Nobody, not the Flint Journal at the time. In fact, the only publication at the time was writing about it was Metro Times, because they had his name's, I can't remember his name right now, but he works for the
ACLU now.
ACLU.
Right? Sure.
Is it Kurt?
Kurt
Guyette.
Yeah, Kurt Guyette.
Yeah.
He did a fantastic job on that, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know why it is. I mean, I worked at the Free Press for 6 years, and environmental contamination just never seemed to be an issue that percolated or had any interest among editors there. And I'm not
a sexy story.
Yeah, well, let me mention something here. Joe, our producer, is also the owner of the studio we're working out of. He mentioned, he says, the marathon plant just bought 2 of our houses to move us out at more than double what they were worth. He goes, I'm not mad. And then he said, I live adjacent to the plant. And he says it's called Operation Green Space. Do you know much about it? I know there has been over the years, they've tried to move a lot of people out of the neighborhood. And I remember in the Free Press story that it's probably about at least 5 years ago, where people were sleeping sometimes at night with like wet cloths over their face to prevent some of the toxins from coming out there. But Joe says he's happy with the deal. Do you know much about what's going on there? Or?
Yeah, I do remember this happening. And again, this is one of those strange issues that was divided along racial lines. You had 2 areas that were impacted equally by Marathon and the other industries there. Right. And only one side was offered buyouts of their homes. The predominant
side, right?
Was not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, quickly, what else is happening in Detroit that we should be reading about?
Well, have you guys heard what's going on with this Bangladeshi festival in Warren? This is one of the weirdest stories that I've written in a long time. Warren Mayor Fouts, his history. Very controversial. Very controversial mayor who said a lot of awful things that we got on tape. But his administration told a Bangladeshi group, and Bangladeshis are population is increasing quite a bit in Metro Detroit, and they hold a festival every year in July, and they had a festival planned for Warren City Square, and they've been holding it for 8 years, and they weren't getting in. They already paid for the rent, they paid for the deposit, and then they got a call from Warren's Parks and Rec director and said, we don't want to have this Bangladeshi festival because it's too it's too ethnic.
Oh,
So
too ethnic.
too ethnic.
Warren is a melting pot of ethnic, but white ethnic.
It is, right. So this was going on for about a week, and the mayor started getting attention he didn't want over this and decided to change his mind and say, okay, we can have this festival here. So now the festival's going on because of the story I wrote, but Warren City Council was outraged, and they looked into it and found out that they don't even have an anti-discrimination ordinance in the city.
Oh.
So
They probably have a pro-discrimination.
right. The de facto ordinance.
If Warren go back and I remember as a kid, reading about someone African American from out of town got lost over in Warren. It had to be the late '60s, and asked the Warren cop where was the black neighborhood that was Warren, and he directed the guy to the cemetery over there, 13 Mile and Mound. You know, the first black cemetery. In the Metro Detroit area where folks could be buried, he says right over there. That's the black neighborhood. So you know, Warren has a long history. Well, you know, Steve, appreciate you coming on.
Let me have one last quickie. Eric Brown points out about the contaminated soil, and Charlie LaDuff had been railing on that for years, and finally, you know, it's come. Have you followed any of that about the contaminated soil that have been used for landfill and stuff like that for filling in the demolitions?
Yeah, the land bank houses.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's just so much contaminants out there.
Well, we're gonna talk to the director of the land bank when we get it back on.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Steve Neavling.
Yep, thanks,
from
Steve.
Metro
Thank
Times.
you.
And
I appreciate you guys.
You still following the Highland Park chaos?
Yeah. Yes, I am. What a strange situation going on there with their marijuana ordinance.
Well, and you looking into stuff that's happening with the Board of Police Commissioners.
Yes. What's going on with the Board of Police Commissioners? I'm hoping to break something on that relatively soon, but there are some serious problems over there.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
All right,
Well,
looking forward to that. And City Hall, I assume you're keeping an eye. What have you, I know you were very, particularly with Motor City Muckraker, you were very critical. Is a nice way of putting it of the mayor. Have you changed your outlook on you? You still feel the same as you have, or are you
going to become one as part of his PR team as they buying up all the journalists who the newspapers can't pay them enough, so they go and become part of the county and the city. Man, you know, I thought Coleman Young co-opted folks when he was the mayor. They do a better job.
Yeah, I can tell you for sure I'm not going to be joining that PR team.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Steve Neavling, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and
we're going to talk about Larry Mongo and the Mongos.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
Nearly 30,000 vacant lots all over the city of Detroit are for sale right now. That's right, nearly 30,000 vacant lots are available now, starting at just $100. The lot next to your house or the lot down the street. Make it yours today in just a few simple clicks. Find out if it is available by visiting buildingdetroit.org. At the Detroit Land Bank Authority, side lots are just $100 and neighborhood lots sell for $250. You can apply and pay online today by visiting buildingdetroit.org. And if you don't see the lot you're looking for, call our offices. Our phone number is 313-974-6869. Again, that is 313-974-6869. 69. We have already sold more than 21,000 vacant lots to Detroit homeowners. Make today your turn by visiting buildingdetroit.org.
You know that plant people still saying, what is Duggan and them doing about the smell, man? Chrysler, they saved Chrysler once. We bailed them out. Then, the Germans bought it. Then they prostituted
the Italians bought it.
The Italians, man, they haven't had more pimps than the average streetwalker in New York has.
They're hanging in, but they've got some good products. They've got the pickup truck and they've got the Jeep.
But that's not helping people. But that's not helping. That's not helping people over that neighborhood.
Right.
Where what they say. I want to look at how many jobs that Detroiters get.
Right.
So we give $800 million to the Illiches. We give $400 here. 40 million to the Pistons.
There's 30 million, but
yeah, 30, 40.
What's
the deal?
Yeah.
So anyway,
we give out a lot of free money. I always say we have.
Dan Gilbert got all the money to. Are he going to be able to fill up some of these buildings, man?
I think right now it's there's a big pivot point with the pandemic. We're seeing a lot of these office buildings that people have suddenly realized after all these years, you don't need to be in an office all the time. I mean, there are some places that they're requiring people to come in 2-3 times a week, but there are other places, when you're trying to be competitive and someone says, you know what, particularly in the tech business here, when somebody says, we want you to come in the office every day, and they go, well, I'm sorry, I can have a job where I can work remotely 5 days a week. So there's a competition over, negotiations that go on over that.
Well, and also here we got so-called Congress people who should be leading the fight against some of these issues we got out there. What is she doing with the Chrysler plant over there? What are they talking about? The pollution over by Marathon. Rashida Tlaib bailed out of Southwest Detroit to go and be who I thought she was. I wish I had that Dennis Green video and say we thought we knew who they were, but her agenda is strictly a Palestinian agenda, a political agenda, and it's not for the people of the district. They could care less.
She does. I think some people, she tries to do some advocacy for the district, but my criticism of her is that I wish she would use the influence she has in Washington to promote peace, because the only solution in the Middle East is through peace and not militarily, because the Israelis aren't going to win militarily and the Palestinians aren't going to win. And she just sort of stokes the flames. I mean, I understand her animosity toward Israel, but it doesn't matter. She's not helping her people back there.
Well, she wasn't helping.
She's helping her image.
She wasn't helping her people in the 13th district. And Sri, oh man, it is that the big accomplishment for this asshole is to name a building after John Conyers. Him and Debbie Stabenow is they dueling. She want to name it after Rosa Parks.
Right.
He want to name it after John Conyers. Who cares? How many jobs can you bring into the district? What about the school? Here the schools are failing. They laying off 400 folks. That's just the beginning. And we went from 25, 30 years ago, 200,000 kids to less than 40,000 kids in Detroit public schools. How do you rebuild a community when your school system sucks?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the foundation. I mean, it's criminal. I mean, and we've talked about this before. The literacy rate is pretty low. It's way. There's a lot of people.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the literacy rate. Period. Whether it's in Detroit or in the suburbs, these kids can't write a sentence. You got the text messages. Yeah, they can't write a letter.
Right.
But let's move on.
All right. So we're going to talk about Larry Mongo. Larry was supposed to be on the show. He couldn't make it, so I went to his place last night and we did a little video. But also, Larry's owns Cafe de Mongo, Speakeasy, and happens to be your brother.
Yeah.
And so Larry had an incident, and it was kind of interesting how it played out. He had, we'll show the video. He had this young kid coming by at about 3:45 a.m. last Sunday morning, and this is what happened.
All right. Stamina. There he is.
Can't see the young dude. This stupid ass.
Yeah. So then after that, like about 45 minutes later, this homeless guy comes walking by and sees the window is open. So he entered the window. So anyway, so it played out. We played the video, Deadline Detroit, which we're posting a little bit still while we're transferring some stuff to the University of Michigan Bentley Library to their servers, so people can still read all the articles. So I posted a video, then the TV stations, we posted that video. And so they arrested the guy. And so it ends up, Larry made a good PR thing about it by let's see here. The guy, Larry talked to the brother of the guy. He talked to the guy. It's a 21-year-old guy from St. Clair County.
Man.
Yeah, 21 years old, and his dad came down to Lafayette, Coney Island on Friday, and they gave Larry a cashier's check for $3,000 to cover the thing. So here's a picture of them at the Coney Island. You've got the 21-year-old here on the very left. His dad also yellow shirt. They're in the framing, the construction business. And there's one of the waiters from Lafayette, and there's Larry in the middle. So, Larry talked to him. So here's a little bit of what we talked to last night. And Larry, we talked a little bit about the bar business and the challenges of running a bar. My father used to have bars in Detroit, and it's not an easy business. I mean, dealing with employees, dealing with people who are drinking, all that kind of stuff. So here, I talked a little bit about, we'll play 2-3 minutes of it. All right, so we're here with Larry Mongo of Cafe de Mongo's. So Larry, you've owned the bar for, how long have you been running the bar here?
When I first opened was 85, 86.
Okay.
Kept it open for about 10 years, and I mothballed it for about 10 years for private parties.
Right.
Because it had gotten to the point you get tired.
Right. And this area still is not developed the way it is right now.
No. When I first opened, it was still a hot area downtown. But in the 90s, it got dangerous.
Right.
Then again, around 205, 206, I started noticing the pollinators, both black and white. Young people down here living in, at the time, illegal lots, whereas they could get 2,000 square feet for only $400 a month. So I noticed a friend of mine, the manager, actually, Christine, she said, Larry, you ought to see how many people live downtown. I said, you're crazy. She said, you need to go at night. And see how many lights is on. She said, also, look and see how many television antennas is outside, satellite dishes. So I started counting. I said, at night, there's a city. And to make a long story short, that city is who patronized Cafe de Mongo's, opened it, and I truly thought I would only be open maybe 6 months. I was open on Fridays only. I told my wife, really, I said, these little white kids to get bored in a few and they go home. I really thought so. And it just kept multiplying.
And you're pretty popular. I can show right now there's people here out on the sidewalk there. So let me ask you, you were in the news recently. You had somebody threw a chair through the window.
Yes.
And then you had another guy 45 minutes later who crawled through the window. What was your reaction when you first saw
well, when we got
video?
the call and I came here, I saw the window had been broken. I saw the video, and the video first showed the black guy in here. He was very polite. He moved my plants around. You know, he didn't break nothing. Clammed through all that glass. Went to the bar, checked the registers. Now, mind you, I got Johnny Walker Blue up there. I got Scotch up there, $700 a bottle. He didn't touch nothing. He took my $3 $2 bills. And I'm saying to myself, all of this for $6. But my manager pointed out to me, Christine, she said, you know, the guy was polite. I say, how? She said, look at this video. He actually, when he left, he checked the door to make sure it was locked. So I'm like, wow. But I said, who broke the window? Because the police was there and they got a report. We got the black guy. We know what bus he caught. We're gonna pick him up and arrest him. And Christine said, you're right. I said, let's keep playing the video. Sure enough, we played back 20-something minutes or 30 minutes. Here's this young white preppy kid. He's the one that threw the chair through the window.
What'd you think when you saw that? It's pretty brazen.
Anger, actually very angry. To be honest with you, I really thought at first white privilege, you know, who's gonna look for me? Then I knew he wasn't a criminal, or he would have looked for the cameras.
All right. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, like I said, Larry met with the family. The 21-year-old has been charged with destruction of property or something like that. He was given some bond, which you don't have to post any money for the bond. It might have been like a $5,000 bond or something. And Larry has said that, you know, he's gonna, you know, recommend to the prosecutor that his record be expunged after a year.
He's gonna recommend. Listen, if that was somebody else in another city, and they threw, that was Joe throwing a chair in a window in Grosse Pointe, Joe be locked up right now in the county jail with a high bond. I'm gonna tell you, that's nice to forgive, and when you got a father who can come and, okay, I guess you can pay for the damages and shit. So, you know, I got mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, you know, it could work. Yeah, I mean, it could work either way. I mean, sometimes you look and you say, well, Detroit has so much more serious crime that when a crime like this comes along, they might not lock somebody up. But on the other hand, is it the question you raise, if it was a black person who threw the chair through the window, what would have happened to him?
You got locked up, but you got people saying, well, you got prosecutors in Washtenaw County saying, we're not going to pick up prostitutes. We're not going to do certain things. And you got people pissed at the prosecutor saying, oh, he's not going to prosecute certain cases. We got a sheriff in Livingston County saying, you know what? I'm not enforcing no gun bans and all this other stuff. We do this shit in. So, you know, if you can throw you can throw a chair through a window and then, okay, my father gonna bail me out. It's not like he's 15 years old or 16 years old. He's 21 years old. I'm not saying lock him up for whatever. You know, I'm saying is that, listen, I don't feel sorry for him. You know, Larry feels sorry. That's Larry. you know. But I know when he first saw it, he was pissed. You know, now knowing Larry, and they looked and they looked at that video. Now, if he had been at that bar and caught the homeless guy going in there and coming out, that he was this, you know, he protecting his property.
Right.
Say, and then come find out it wasn't him that broke the window. But anyway, yeah, Detroit do have some serious issues. People can't go to the gas stations at a certain time. People scared for themselves going to ATMs and all this other stuff. So,
you know, it's interesting in Detroit. I mean, right near where I live, the gas stations are more expensive. But as you go further toward Highland Park in that area, Highland Park and Detroit, you're seeing gas for, I mean, it's so crazy. I've never seen the gas prices, such a disparity. I go down Woodward in Detroit and then through Highland Park, it's $3.19 a gallon. And I still am like, you know what? I'm going to pay. I'm just not, you know, particularly at night coming home, I'm not going to pull into a gas station.
You're not going to pull over. Even when our co-host, Vanessa Moss, who was early in the morning going to work out. Somebody tried to hijack her car.
Right.
You know, people. So listen, this guy threw a chair through the window. They gonna have to deal with it, and you know, let the chips fall where they may.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
So we're gonna play a couple commercials, and then we're gonna bring Reginald Amos on.
Right.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
Homeownership opportunities.
Now go ahead.
Homeownership opportunities are rising in the city of Detroit, and there's a house out there that's right for you and your family. You don't even have to worry about credit or getting a loan. You can win a house for as little as $1,000 and pay for the renovation cost as you go. It all starts at buildingdetroit.org and the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Our auction and Own It Now programs offer a variety of houses and neighborhoods all over the city of Detroit. These homes are in desperate need of repair and new ownership. You can begin by going to our interactive map and detailed property listings to find the right fit for you. It won't be easy, and renovation costs are not cheap, but our compliance team is there every step of the way. We will help you track your progress and connect you with local discounts to save you more money. We have already sold more than 15,000 homes in the city of Detroit, and our inventory is shrinking fast, so you don't want to miss out on this wonderful opportunity. Start your home buying journey today by visiting buildingdetroit.org.
Okay, we're gonna go to Reginald Amos,
Bring him into the studio.
former deputy fire chief, head of a group called bring him on. Detroit is United LLC.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, great. Good morning to you also, Allan.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes.
Okay, Reggie,
Thank
tell
you.
us. You talk about this Detroit public schools. We know the issues that they have in the library. Give us an update on what your group is trying to do.
Well, the reason we sent that email blast out the other day is because we're tired of the misinformation and outright lies coming from another radio station down the dial. Both of you guys are familiar with them. And, the other day you had one of the hosts brought it up. The host come on at 6 a.m. He brought it up that he was going to host a show next week. And he was tired of a former DFT union leader lying about tax abatements do not have a negative impact on Detroit public schools. And so I sent him an email and I told him, I said, well, hey, I said, just like you, hey, the listening audience is tired of this guy coming on straight out lying. He's a Duggan sycophant. He's constantly lying. And like I told him, I said, hey, Detroit is united. We spoke with one of the, a former head of Michigan public schools, the man he passed on. We spoke with the current school superintendent. We asked both of these gentlemen, do tax abatements have an impact on the DPS? And both said yes. But yet and still, we have, at the time, she was a council member, Mary Sheffield. She was saying that it do not impact, the tax abatements do not impact Detroit public schools. And at that time, that was Tom Gore and the Pistons got their $30 million. Okay. And, it's just so much misinformation going around the city of Detroit. Like I said, Duggan supporters, they're just flat out lying. And Detroiters are tired of it. And
well,
so
let me ask you this, Reggie.
Yeah.
Why do we keep electing folks like that? We elect Duggan, we elect the people that go to Congress. We got folks up in Lansing, I call them do nothing assholes who they get reelected, and here we are. We're talking about the same issues. They'll just get 800 million, they get 400 million. It's like everybody got an ATM card to the city coffers except the folks that live here.
Well, that's because we have a carpetbag mayor. We should never have a carpetbag mayor, white, black, male, female, young or old in Detroit. Right now, we have 7 council members that's scared of a white man. That's the mayor. Okay. You spoke about Stellantis over on the east side. Hell, you got the council member over there. When you talk with the people, they say she's not doing anything.
Who is that council member?
Letitia Johnson.
Oh, didn't she just get elected?
Yeah, she was just elected. Yeah. And then you got Mary Waters. She's council at large. She hasn't said anything, and people catching hell over there.
Well, you know what? I live in Detroit, and I'm all part of the bullshit. And I say that because that's what we keep putting in office, and they run, and we have no real opposition. Nobody holds anybody accountable to none of this shit. Mm-hmm. But yet here you are, you're talking about tax abatement, right? Talking about DPS losing thousands of students, right? But hey, we keep pushing, and they keep renovating, and they keep giving money to these billionaires, and we can't even get a Kroger to move across 8 Mile Road.
Yeah. I mean, let me just add to this. This former DFT union leader, he's constantly lying, saying the tax abatements don't affect DPS schools. Then why was it necessary for Council President Mary Sheffield to request the Legislative Policy Division to submit a resolution urging that DPS and Detroit Public Library be exempt from tax capture, tax abatements, tax increment financing?
They need to take control of that place over there and mismanage hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you're talking about Keith Johnson. He called on our show, and I asked him at the time, "Are you part of the VD team? Do you work for DPS?" Because he sounds like he's still in the mix.
Yeah,
he's still in the mix. What you're doing. This is a subject that you need a couple hours really to educate folks on what's going on. You got any more questions?
Well, let me ask you, what, we see, in my understanding was that all the money that went for the arena for the Illiches, which was probably somewhere 400 million, give or take, was supposed to be with the caveat that they build and develop the area. Now, I don't understand. Maybe you could explain it to me. Now they come back with Stephen Ross and they're asking for $800 million to do, it seems, what they were supposed to do previously. What's your read on that?
It's just a money grab. That's the bottom line. You got two wealthy billionaires that don't need the taxpayers' money to complete their development. You got a corporate mayor. You got 7 Negroes sitting on the council that's afraid of this white mayor. And so Detroit is United LLC. To answer your question, Mongo, we are asking folk to identify potential candidates for elected positions throughout Detroit: the mayor, the clerk, the council, even the school board, because we have to change the political paradigm in Detroit. And so that's why
you're going to have to change it. And unfortunately, we're up against the clock, and we're going to have you back on, Reggie.
Okay.
I really appreciate
thank you so much.
On.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Reggie,
you.
Former Deputy Chief of the Detroit Fire Department. Thank you.
Correct.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much.
What somebody said, what the problem with the mayor? I got a whole list that I can talk about. What's the problem with the mayor? Crime is a problem with the mayor. Schools is a problem with the mayor. Jobs, police department. When you the mayor and you the boss, the buck stops at your desk. Not that he can't go around policing everybody, but he got to answer to the people. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I mean, they're all big city issues. I mean, the schools, it's complicated by the fact there's sort of an independence there, but
Coleman Young has to take control of the school district, and people were scared that it was going to turn political. It turned political.
It's always
England
political.
took over the schools. They had a $1 billion bond. They took all the money, and they basically, it was a free for all. But anyway, final thoughts.
I'm going to say, health wise, the COVID is going down. But what is interestingly, about 3-4 weeks ago, I had an upper respiratory thing with a cough that kept me up for 2 nights, and I'm hearing a lot of people having it. So, and to be honest, it was worse than COVID. That my experience with that, and so my feeling is, if you got it, wear a mask, and if you're around people who are hacking a lung, not a bad idea to wear a mask as well. I mean, some people just go out and they don't care; they're going to spread whatever, but if you've got that horrible cough that's going around, the horrible cold, you should wear a mask.
Okay. I want to thank Steve Neavling, Reggie Amos, Larry Mongo.
I thought you were going to say I want to thank Dr. Fauci.
Dr. Fauci for president, independent ticket. But anyway, we'll be back next week, and hopefully we have our other co-host, Vanessa Moss, here. Have a good weekend.
All right.